Hello, good to see you. Thanks for joining us once again. Do let me know straight away if there is any kind of issue with the audio as per usual, because, well, you can't get the help, can you, boys and girls? Ted has got one job, frankly, and it's to twiddle the knobs, and sometimes he doesn't twiddle the knobs quite correctly. So do let me know if there are any problems. In the meantime, let's crack straight on with dealing with today's willing contestant. I think I'll call this series of videos People Who Think Their Opinion is Worth Hearing. Because for some reason, there are a lot of people out there on the interwebs, aren't there, who think their opinion is worth hearing. And then they go ahead and give their opinion. And it turns out that their opinion is not worth hearing. And I have reason to suspect that that's what we're going to get here from Aleks, a young man called Aleks, who's made this nice little video telling us all about how it is that the carnivore diet is, of course, going to eventually fail us. And, yeah, we're all going to fall to bits in some way because, well, Aleks says so. So it must be right because he said so. That's the thing about having an opinion on the interwebs. You can just come online and say whatever you want, can't you? Fair play to him. But anyway, we'll deal with that in just a minute. We'll crack straight on with that. But first of all, we'll just have a quick look at who it is that's in the house. Tracy was first. Good on you, Trace. Hope things are going well for you over there across the pond, or the ditch, if you like. Guten Morgen. Guten Morgen. I presume from Germany or somewhere similar. Imbeciles coming out of the woodworks lately. Yes. Well, not lately. They've been doing it for years, haven't they, really? Lately, I've been dealing with them a bit more because previous to that I was having a Christmas break, which I think was quite well earned, frankly. But there it is. Yes, there are imbeciles. Did we cover the comment, though? Did we cover it off? In fact, it's been a never-ending torrent of excrement. Yes, indeed. Well, there will be more from the professor today, won't there, Ted? Yes, so don't come late. That's what she said. I'm here all week. DC's in the house. Good to see you, mate. Really good to see you. Yes. It's been a never-ending story of imbeciles and their sheeple followers, indeed. From what I've seen, says Carmen Young, from what I've seen, the ratio seems to be that for every one actual purveyor of truth and logic, there's about 15 to 20,000 imbeciles to do the exact opposite. Yes, I feel quite outnumbered. Yes, indeed. This is how it is. New Hampshire's in the house. Good to see you. Raymond's here. Good to see you. Elkivore, very good to see you. Does Ted ever get tired of twiddling the knobs? No, sometimes he's just destitute, really, in his duties of knob twiddling. He's not the only one around here, frankly. Anyways, that's for another day. Somebody has to twiddle the knobs, frankly. Otherwise, how will we get all the knob twiddling settings where they should be? I'm barely late. I just got notified. Yes, indeed. Well, that's the thing with the YouTubes. I don't like people to know I'm here or tell anyone I'm here or promote my stuff at all because, well, you see, I'm not espousing approved narrative, am I? I'm saying words that are hurty. If I was in the UK, I'd probably be being arrested for saying hurty words because that's what happens over there. You say hurty words, you go to prison. You can stab people so long as you don't come from the UK originally. But hurty words, no good. No good at all. Hello, Fiji. Good to see Fiji's in the house. Grandma's here, of course. We love us some grandma. Yes, we do. Carnivore Invictus is here. Hello, good people, and others. Anyway, and a whole bunch of other bigots are in the house. It's been very popular, this journey of discovery into, who's wrong on the interwebs. Anyway, let's crack on, as I said I was going to. We've given people plenty of time to roll in. Ted has taken the names of latecomers, and you'll be hearing from Ted after the show. In the meantime, let's hear a bit from Aleks about how it is that carnivore is no good in some way. And we'll put it right where it's wrong. The usual caveat, I have not watched this through. I don't know what Aleks is going to say. But funnily enough, I do. Because as I said yesterday on my live stream, there ain't nothing new under the sun here, is there, boys and girls? The day one of these influencers who thinks carnivore is bad for some reason comes up with something new I have not heard before, I will eat Ted's hat. In the meantime, not knowing what he's going to say, but knowing what he's going to say, let's hear it, shall we? Go, Aleks. Let me know if there's a problem with the audio straight away so I can try and sort it out.
Carnivore feels powerful at first. You feel calm, focused, grounded, anxiety-driven.
That sounds terrible. We can't have any of that, can we? We can't be feeling grounded, powerful, calm, collected, ready for whatever the universe wants to throw at us. That's no good. No good at all.
Drops, confidence goes up, but that clarity isn't coming from strength. It comes from something called the catecholamine honeymoon.
Absolute nonsense. No such thing as true. Are you going to back that up with anything whatsoever? Should we wait for it? No, it's just your opinion. Okay, well, we've heard opinions before, Aleks. We've heard opinions many, many times. And in fact, we've heard the same opinions. Because at the end of the day, you might think you're coming online and being awfully clever and saying something novel and, you know, a different angle on this. You're not. We've heard this before. It's rubbish. No, the feelings of power, control, calmness, health, both mental and physical, all the good sides of the carnivore diet that people start to feel are not down to a catecholamine honeymoon. That is absolute rubbish.
A short phase where adrenaline and noradrenaline are elevated. It's coming from stress hormones.
So what you know, this is making some great sense, isn't it? What Aleks is expecting us to swallow here is the idea that we feel great and awesome and powerful and under control and centered and all of those things because we are stressed. Good. Okay. So straight away, within, what is this? 18 seconds, Aleks has shown himself to be an utter imbecile. Unable to apply a basic self-refutatory, cursory evaluation of the very words he's just said. Does that make sense? You feel great because something's wrong. Badly wrong. That's why you feel great. Awesome. Imbecile.
When you remove carbohydrates, your body rises adrenaline and cortisol to keep blood sugar stable. That's
yes.
Stress can feel.
No, that's not stress. That's not a stress. That is a normal body reaction. That is part of your normal metabolism. That is what it is supposed to do. It is not stressful. Absolute rubbish, Aleks.
Like clarity. It can feel like confidence, but it's borrowed energy. You're not producing more energy. You're compensating. Over time, the stress stays and the power fades.
Okay, so when can we expect our power to fade as carnivores? Because I seem to have boundless energy to deal with absolute imbeciles like you, Aleks, day in and day out, coming online, giving us your rancid, pustulous, excremental, ignorant, arrogant, stupid opinions. My battery never seems to run down. I've been doing this for years now. When can I expect the carnivore diet to fail me completely? When?
Energy drops, warmth disappears, and what once felt like discipline turns into burnout. So the question is...
Right, so when can we expect this burnout that we can all expect to occur because we're not eating carbs? When?
And why carnivore feels good. The question is why it eventually stops working.
No, the question is when, because we're still waiting, Aleks. The fact that you say it's going to happen doesn't mean it's going to happen. I wonder what this boy's background is, by the way. Oh, listen, we found out about the background of the idiot that I dealt with yesterday. You'll love it. He's a chiropractor. Okay.
And that's exactly what I'll be covering in this video. So
well, let's hear it.
What's up? Aleks here, and...
Hello, Aleks. Good to meet you. Perhaps you'd like to face me face to face to have a debate about everything you're going to say in this video, because while I haven't watched it through, I know exactly what you're going to say, and it's going to be absolute ridiculous nonsense from start to finish. You're not going to be able to support any of your opinions with anything remotely resembling any kind of decent evidence. whatsoever. What you're going to do is give us a bunch of unfounded opinions, and they're stupid, as are you, son. I'm open to it, though, if you'd like to have a discussion face-to-face, and we'll deal with it. And I'll tear you 7 new assholes without breaking a sweat. Because you see, son, I've been doing this, studying this field at a very high academic level since before you were born, sunshine. How's that?
Today, I want to cover carnivore.
Yep.
As I've done a lot of calls recently, a lot of guys mentioning in the community, why do they see results with carnivore, but then they don't see optimal results? They're still struggling with certain symptoms.
What symptoms are those?
Things like that. And that's
things like what, though? You just said symptoms. What symptoms, son?
That's exactly what I want to dive deep into this video. It's very popular nowadays.
What is?
And yeah, let's get into it.
Yes, let's.
First things first, a lot of the things I'll be covering are in the Metabolic Dominion ebook, which there's a link in the bio. It's free to download. You can have a read.
Why would we read that book? Who published that book? Who wrote that book? What is the level of scrutiny that book has gone through before it was published? What would interest us in any way about that book, Aleks?
And a lot of the things that I'll be covering are covered in there. And yet, so
why don't we just read the book? If the book is worth reading, why don't we just read that instead of listening to you, Aleks? Why are you wasting our time here on the interwebs, giving us your stupid opinion that carnivore is stressful in some way? Your ridiculous, arrogant, unfounded opinion. Why would we do that?
Why carnivore feels powerful?
Because it is, son.
And why that power fades. So first...
It doesn't, though, son, if you do it right. If your power fades, it's because you've done it wrong. And you never really were a carnivore. You should front up for naming and shaming, public flagellation from the likes of Ted. Oh, yes, I like to flagellate and twiddle the knobs. See? Yes, well, you go and twiddle the knobs. Good boy. Right. What was I saying? Doesn't matter. Ted's twiddling the knobs. Given that you're not all bitching about the volume, I guess it's right. So I'll carry on.
What actually is carnivore?
Well, that's eating animal products and not plants so much. There are different levels of carnivory. There are different mixtures of plants and animals that people can choose to eat. They're all carnivore. Any animal that eats any amount of any animal products is actually, strictly speaking, a carnivore. So we have different denominations like hypercarnivore, which denominates more than 70% of their intakes in the form of animal products, for example. Okay?
The guys that maybe don't know, let me set the foundation around what they actually breathe.
Why would you set the foundation for us, son? What is your background? Why would we take you remotely seriously as a commentator on this topic? Who are you, boy?
Believe. So carnivore is not just meat-based. It's near zero carbohydrates.
Not necessarily. I've just covered that. So you can't even get that right. A person that can't get the basic first principles right, well, how can you expect us to take you remotely seriously on anything beyond that? It's like Dr. James de Nicoli No Ideas telling us that thermodynamics, the first law of thermodynamics indicates that mass is conserved. He said that publicly more than once. The problems with that being, of course, that, well, first of all, no, that's not what the first law of thermodynamics says, not at all, or anything similar to that. And secondly, mass is not conserved. And you've just said carnivore is near zero carbohydrate. Well, it's not necessarily, son. Okay?
There's different versions of them. I know most of them go based off of not eating carbohydrates, high fat, high protein, chronically low insulin. That's one of the goals.
Is it? Who said that was one of the goals?
Often ketogenic state by default.
No. If you do the carnivore diet correctly, you're almost never in a ketogenic state. Actually, the level of ketones circulating in one's blood are remarkably low. So no.
It removes sugar, fruit, starch, fiber, any rapid glucose source. So metabolically, carnivore is a low glucose environment.
No. Wrong again. Ever heard of gluconeogenesis, son? It's a thing. Perhaps you should have looked that up before you made a video, because that's the thing that provides us with all the glucose we need metabolically. Okay?
This signal fact explains almost everything.
Well, hang on. Just saying something is a fact doesn't make it one. Because you've just said that carnivore diet is a metabolically low glucose situation. No, it isn't. It's not looking good for you, is it, Aleks?
That follows. So when I was like 19, 18, I used to do the ketogenic diet.
Who didn't?
So the foundation around that was extremely high fat, 80%, 20% protein, and 0 carbohydrates net, right?
So what? That's got nothing to do with a properly formulated carnivore diet. That's the kind of things that people say that are telling you what they think you should do to be ketogenic, because they falsely believe that having a large number of ketones floating around in your blood is indicated and is the goal for some reason. It's hilarious to me. But anyway, carry on.
And with carnivore, the difference is they're eating a lot of protein. So it's like...
How much is a lot, son? According to whom? On what basis? What do you mean a lot? Some carnivores eat a lot of protein, yes. Does that mean they should? Well, I have my ideas on that, but we'll see if that comes up in this discussion.
And they're utilizing gluconeogenesis, so the creation of glucose from protein consumption.
There you go. See? What an absolute imbecile. You're quite right, DC. Apparently, according to Aleks here, gluconeogenesis is the creation of glucose from protein. No, Aleks. Yes, there are a couple of potential gluconeogenic amino acids. Absolutely. That is one potential metabolic source for the non-glucose intermediaries that can be transmuted to glucose using the gluconeogenic pathway. Absolutely. But is it the most common one? Is it the one the body relies upon? Is it the first choice? Absolutely fucking not. No. Nonsense, you ignorant, arrogant, ridiculous child. What is next?
With the ketogenic diet, if you're to eat too much protein, it will kick you out of the ketosis state.
Oh my God, that's terrible. The ignorance is strong in this one. Ignore him. Join me. I will complete your training. Something, something complete. Something, something dark side.
So fundamentally, they're operating from a state of trying to get carbohydrates both from protein.
No, son, still wrong. Still wrong.
Which fundamentally, that way of doing things is flawed.
Well, it would be if that's what the body did. But after 3,800 million fucking years of evolution, Aleks, the body's got this one sorted out. It knows what it's doing, and it knows where the best source of the gluconeogenic precursors are. And it's not fucking protein. You idiot.
Because protein should be used for structure.
That's right. That's why it is. And that's why the gluconeogenic precursor of choice is glycerol. Dickwad. What's next?
Not for energy. And let's get into it. So,
let's, because it's clear that you don't know a fucking single thing about this at all. Let's hear it, though.
Let's go deeper. So what carnivore believers actually believe?
Yes, carnivore believers.
Carnivore advocates generally believe carbohydrates are not required for human life.
No, science will tell us that that's a fact in terms of one's dietary makeup. The exact requirement metabolically for health and life for exogenous carbohydrates in the diet, Aleks, is not 1 single gram ever. Fact. This is not an opinion. This is not a theology, unlike your theological belief that gluconeogenic precursor is protein and nothing else, it seems. No, son.
Glucose can always be made from protein, so they're utilizing gluconeogenesis. Insulin is inherently...
Oh my God. Listen, look at this. Look at this, boys and girls. Professor of what? Health science, love. Specializing over a 20-year career in 3 different areas. Those being the physiology of rest and exercise. After that, human nutrition. And finally, before I retired from academia permanently, cardiovascular pathophysiology. All of those underpinned by a very, very good understanding of research design and ethics, statistics and statistical inference, pure and applied statistics, etc. Quite a decent list of peer-reviewed publications, having worked in a number of different university/college institutions on 4 different continents. So that's my background briefly, if you'd like, lovey. A carnivore diet is associated with dementia. No, it fucking isn't. You ridiculous little girl, whoever the hell you are. No, it isn't. Wrong. Absolute rubbish. All right, goodbye. You're out of here. Let's get you nuked. Click that little button there. Ban the user and delete their comments. Bye-bye. You rude, arrogant, insolent shit stain. Goodbye. Right. Aleks, what's next?
Inflammatory. And fat is the body's natural fuel.
Yes. That's why the body uses fat as its natural fuel, if you provide it with enough fat to do so.
Ketones are a superior brain fuel. Plants cause inflammation and autoimmune disease.
Yes.
Early humans...
Cause is very strong and perhaps not supported adequately and to make such an unequivocal statement. But look, it's pretty clear. So, yes, the opinion of most carnivores is that that is so. I too share that opinion, and I think it's underpinned by some pretty good inference.
Thrive primarily on meat. And most importantly, if I feel better, cleaner, calmer, leaner, it must be working. That belief is understandable because carnivore...
Because it's correct and unassailable.
Or does produce real effects.
That's right, it does. So why are you making this video, turd?
So if you're someone that doesn't really care about dieting and things like that, and you jump on carnivore, you will definitely see results.
See, that's too strong.
You'll feel better.
Very likely, but definitely is too strong a word.
Potentially sleep better, lose body fat, build muscle if you're training.
All of those things sound terrible.
Things like that. So
gosh, that's awful. We can't have that, can we?
You will see results. But
okay, well, again, very unequivocal, but...
What you're experiencing is the catecholamine honeymoon.
Still no, son. Doesn't matter how many times you say that incorrect statement, that fallacious load of claptrap, it still isn't so.
And I'll get deep into that in a moment.
I doubt that you're capable of getting deep into anything much. I'm here all week.
So why carnivore does work initially?
It works long-term as well, son. That's the whole point that you're missing. All you need to do is do it correctly, and it will work long-term for you.
Carnivore works early because it eliminates blood sugar crashes, removes good irritants and fermentation, suppresses appetite, lowers endotoxin.
Doesn't suppress appetite.
Exposure, activates...
It controls inappropriate overeating. That's a completely different thing, you silly boy.
Stress hormones that increase focus. So a lot of those things are valid.
And stress hormones is a value judgment statement. It's an arbitrary label. They're not stress hormones, they're just hormones.
But accomplishing that, you can do that without using carnivore, which I'll get into, and I go over into Metabolic Dominion ebook.
Oh, God. Why do these arrogant, ignorant fuckheads think their opinions are worth hearing. They have not done the work. They do not have the experience. They do not have the background. They do not have the credibility to comment on this publicly. What is wrong with modern society? Why do people of this boys' generation think their opinions are worth hearing? Other than every child wins a prize and their parents telling them that their opinions are worth hearing, instead of their parents saying, "You don't know dick about fuck, son. Go and do the work. Earn your stripes." No? Okay.
So people experience mental clarity, reduce anxiety, reduce inflammation,
All
stable
sound terrible, don't they?
energy, confident, drive, potentially better performance in the gym,
Gosh, this all sounds very, very dangerous, doesn't it?
confidence, all of those things. This is not placebo, but the key question is what system is producing these effects?
Well, that would be a good question. Do you have any idea? It seems like not, son.
So there's two ways that your body can produce energy. And
No, that's false.
energy is the foundation to upholding structure in your
Energy is a construct, son. It's an idea. It's the thing that we invoke because we have to invoke it to explain objective reality, the phenomena that we believe we perceive. Sorry, not sorry.
system that then upholds different processes and things like that. So, number one, the energy metabolism. So it's thyroid driven, glucose based.
No, it isn't. Absolute nonsense. False, completely false, absolutely false from first principles up. Wrong. Buffhead.
High CO2 production, so carbon dioxide, efficient respiration, so you're breathing. So one of the signs or one way you can test your thyroid efficiency is how much oxygen you consume.
No. Absolutely false. Once again.
Growth supportive, reproductive, stable. Number two, stress metabolism.
What's that? According to whom? On what basis?
So cortisol.
Cortisol's a stress hormone, is it? No, it fucking isn't. That's an arbitrary label, once again. Stress is a construct. It's an idea. It's just a hormone, son.
And adrenaline.
Sure, it has roles, many roles to play, and it shows up when there is that construct, that idea, that thing that we call stress going on. However, stress is not a bad thing, son. Distress is a bad thing. Stress, not so much. Because you see, the situation is, if you have no stress whatsoever, well, that's a very bad thing indeed, because that means you're dead. Sorry about that, not sorry.
Adrenaline driven, fat and protein based, low CO2, less efficient respiration, anti-growth, anti-reproductive,
He's just saying words, isn't he? Just listing words because he wants to, without any reference to anything remotely resembling a competent understanding or assessment of the human metabolic pathways.
term adaptive. Carnivore shifts the body towards stress metabolism.
There's no such thing, dickwad. Stress metabolism. There's just metabolism, which maintains itself homeostatically. Is that a word you've heard before, son? Okay. Homeostasis is a thing. It keeps the body within operational parameters right up to the point until immediately before you die, actually. And that's not stressful. That's how it's designed to work. And it's really good at it. It's been doing it for at least 3,800 million fucking years still.
That does not mean it's bad. It means it's contextual. So one of the things is there's processes in our body because God created so.
Oh, okay. We have processes because God created them. All right.
To make us adapt in the environment that we are in. So what you're experiencing is a reaction, an adaptation to the inputs you're giving it, causing
adaptation to the inputs that you place your body in. That sounds like a homeostatic thing.
an effect, right? And the goal with like bioenergetic and things like that, you want to create a summer-like environment versus, like, let's say you're living in a cold environment. Like in animals, you see this, they hibernate during the winter.
Yes, but do you see how we're not those animals? All you need to do is take a quick look and, well, you'll see we don't look remotely like a bear, for example, or other hibernating animals. Humans have evolved along a different line. Completely different line, haven't we?
So they're consuming a lot of polyunsaturated fats, and that sets on hibernation.
Animals hibernate because they eat a lot of polyunsaturated fats, apparently. Oh, I'm glad that Aleks is here to tell us stuff that he just made up. That's awesome.
And all the animals around, if they were to eat other animals, they would have high polyunsaturated fat stores.
So if you eat animals, you'll get high polyunsaturated fat stores now. I'm confused. I wish I knew as much as Aleks does.
The environment is communicating a certain environment and the body adapts, because if it was to maintain a high metabolism, you would burn through all your resources and die from starvation, right? But based on certain inputs, your body slows down, the metabolism goes down, and you...
So homeostasis is a thing. Okay, good.
Survive, you know? So your body's in the state of survival.
Yes, homeostasis is the better label for it. That's the scientifically accepted, appropriate nomenclature for the process by which human metabolism maintains itself within operational limits at all times.
Hence why guys lose their hair, sex drive goes away, energy drive, long-term thinking, all of those things go away.
I see. When's my sex drive going to go away? My hair fell out when I was 28, but that's a combination of a genetically predisposed, likelihood for that, and, well, as it turns out, a very high testosterone level as underpinned by my extremely high sex drive, which in my mid-50s continues to be extremely high, higher than most people's. Having consumed a diet consisting almost entirely of meat and fat for the best part of about 12 years now, I think it is. Don't quote me on that, but it's something like that. I didn't actually write the date down in a book or anything. Yes, I've had times when I've had some plant material in my diet, sometimes more than, at various periods of time, more than other periods of time, based on what's happening in my life and the fact that I'm a hedonist. I've never said I'm 100% carnivore, ever. I've only ever been 100% carnivore twice, once for a period of 30 days and once for a period of 90. It was awesome, actually, in terms of results, but not so good in terms of my particular level of self-discipline. I'm not sure what this boy's point is, though.
And it's just focused on survival.
Mm-hmm.
So gluconeogenesis.
Yes, tell us all about gluconeogenesis and how protein is the only source of the new glucose being produced.
Glucose,
yes.
neo,
yes.
new,
yes.
Genesis, the creation.
Yes.
Like the book of Genesis.
No, not like the book of Genesis. See, because gluconeogenesis is a thing. It's an observable scientific phenomenon. And the book of Genesis is some words written on a page by a man at some point.
So the pillar of carnivore.
Mm-hmm.
So carnivore survives on gluconeogenesis.
Nonsense. Gluconeogenesis is a normal, natural part of the overall functioning of the homeostatic mechanism of human beings. Without gluconeogenesis, yes, we'd die. Absolutely. But also, we'd die without a bunch of other things too. So I'm not sure quite why you're focused so much on this. And if you were going to focus on gluconeogenesis, perhaps you should actually focus on it, which would mean that you would have to first actually learn what it is and how it works and what the precursors are, because it's not just protein.
Because there's certain organs in our body that operate only with glucose, with carbohydrates.
Which ones?
It needs carbohydrates to be sustained.
Which ones? Give us a list.
Right? So it takes...
No, it's wrong, actually. That's why I'm asking the question.
The protein you're consuming and converts it into glucose.
No. See, there we go again. The absolutely false assertion that gluconeogenesis relies entirely upon protein as the substrate, which it doesn't. Still.
Or the protein that you have on your body, like muscle tissue, and converts that into glucose.
Absolute fucking nonsense. Tell me this, Aleks. After 3,800 million years of evolution at least, why would the human body be so fucking inane in its design as to store fat whenever it can to use to create sugar with later if it needs to, and then when it does need to create sugar, instead of using the fat it's stored for that purpose, instead it rips its own fucking muscles and organs and things to bits to use the protein for that? You absolute fucking imbecile. You ridiculous child. Explain that to us. Shall we wait? My word. Does it get any worse than these absolute buffheads?
So gluconeogenesis, converting amino acids into...
No. Not until there's no fat left, sunshine. Goodness gracious. The most common substrate for gluconeogenesis is the glycerol backbones from triacylglycerol molecules. The second most common is monocarboxylates, such as lactate. Well down the list are a couple of gluconeogenic amino acids in particular. Well down the list. And only when all that other stuff is gone to speak of. You absolute fucking imbecile.
The glucose. Important details people skip.
Yes, people do skip important details, don't they, Aleks? Like learning the first fucking most basic first principles of the concepts that they're talking to people publicly about. For example. My word.
It occurs primarily in the liver. It is hormonally driven. It requires cortisol and glucagon. It is activated under low carbohydrate stress.
No, that's not a stress. And if you want to define it as a stress, then you have to delineate stress from distress. It's a normal, natural part of the human metabolic process. It's not stressful or distressful, I should say, at all. It's not a problem. We have the metabolic pathways to achieve these outcomes precisely to subserve the homeostatic requirements of the human body. 3,800 million fucking years of it. Evolution. Okay? I mean, your argument that we're all created by God and that God did it perfectly, of course. Well, explain to me why God doesn't understand, please. Why would God suggest that you should tear your muscles and organs to bits when you've still got any fat whatsoever stored on your body to use for that purpose? Other than you clearly don't know that gluconeogenesis is served firstly by glycerol and not purely by protein, you ridiculous boy.
And Ray Peat...
By the way, here we go, Ray Peat. That's all we need to know right there. This is yet another fucktarded Pete turd. I kind of knew it. I kind of thought, oh yeah, from what he was saying before. I kind of had picked it up when you started talking about CO2 briefly there for a minute without understanding a damn thing about it. But oh yeah, this is going to be a Peat turd. Yep, yet another Peat turd. So all we need to know, you're a fucking imbecile. You do not understand the energetics of human metabolism. If you follow Ray Peat, you have been misled. If you follow the Peat turdian way of thinking about metabolism, you are vastly, grossly, badly misguided, son. There it is, right there.
Really emphasize the body makes glucose under stress.
No, it makes glucose when it's required, and it's not stressful still.
Not because it prefers to, but because it must.
Rubbish.
So you see a lot of guys saying, I've seen mentioned.
Only guys say things. Ladies, there you go.
Oh, you don't need carbohydrates are not essential because
that's right, they're not in the diet because you can make all. It's called gluconeogenesis, dickwad.
If you don't consume them, you can survive.
Yep. Hello. I mean, unless I'm imagining my own existence, that's exactly what's happening. How about the rest of you in the chat? Let us know whether you're here or whether you're just making yourself up.
It's quite the opposite. They're so essential that when you don't consume them, your body will take the protein that you're consuming.
That's still not a true statement of fact there, you absolute dickwad. You ridiculous shit stain. Still wrong. Doesn't matter how many times you say gluconeogenesis tears your body to bits because it breaks down your protein. It's still wrong.
Your own muscle tissue and convert it into glucose to sustain you, right?
No, wrong. Absolutely, totally wrong, son.
Gluconeogenesis is not a preferred pathway.
Oh my God. You fucking imbecile. You absolute ridiculous turd.
It is a backup system.
No, it's part of the overall functioning of the human metabolic system. It's one of the many cogs in the gearbox, if you want an analogy. It's there to translate force, energy, whatever, however you want to think about it. It's there to do a role, and it does it. It's not stressful or distressful. It's not a problem. My word.
And fundamentally, you don't have liver glycogen storage. The T4 you're producing is not converting to active thyroids. It's converting to reverse T3, which then downregulates your metabolism and fundamentally downregulates all of your protective hormones.
No, see, there you go again with the protective hormones, you say. Which ones, son? Which ones? And what you're talking about there, what you're alluding to there, without actually understanding it at all, yet again, are other aspects of homeostasis, which is still a thing.
Production. And without thyroid, active thyroid, you can produce testosterone, DHA.
That's correct. However, let's go back to the example of me. I know I'm just N equals 1, but the reason that I have male pattern baldness is because of a high level of testosterone combined with a particular genetic predisposition to that showing itself as male pattern baldness, a high level of sex hormone production, a high level of energy production, very good thyroid function, all the things that you're telling me I can expect not to occur because of your theological devotion to the late Ray Peat. Okay.
HD progesterone, none of that. Why gluconeogenesis feels good at first? Early on,
it feels good all the time because it's a normal, natural part of our metabolism. Still, boy.
On the cortisol keeps blood sugar.
Stress hormone, protective hormones, distribution. Bell-shaped curve. Red on the left, blue on the right. What do you think this shows us, son? What do you think this is? other than a graphic that you've put there based on absolutely nothing whatsoever.
Sugar stable. Adrenaline increases alertness. Hunger signals are suppressed.
So
Inflammatory
homeostasis is a thing. Okay, good.
signals are muted. Hans Selye showed that stress hormones can
There is no such thing as stress hormones still.
temporarily increase performance while quietly increasing wear. This is the
Which where is that? Who's where? Where's where? Where's Waldo? Fuck's going on? I'm confused again. I wish I wasn't so confused. It's probably because I'm so stupid.
resistance phase of stress. You feel powerful, but the power is borrowed. I've made posts
Leave your face alone, son.
recently how a high sex drive can be driven by stress hormones.
Oh, that's what it is. I'm stressed. That's why I have a high sex drive. Of course. Is that any different from distress, though? And is it a good thing? Tell us more.
Rather than protective hormones.
Or indeed a lot less would be better from you, you absolute, arrogant, ridiculous shit stain. A lot less.
Because it's a reaction to pass on the genes before you die or whatever, you know.
Die or whatever.
Also, it can be a form of self-medicating under stress to reach orgasm because you self-medicate, right?
There you go. I just need medicating. Some people would agree with you, Alex, on that. Some people would agree that I need medicating. That's an opinion, though, isn't it? And we all know about opinions, don't we, staff?
So some things can look the same, but are driven by different components.
Yeah, but which components are those? You've just drawn a bell-shaped curve with a red half and a blue half on an axis or a set of axes, which are not underpinned by any kind of data whatsoever and have no scale provided in any way, shape, or form. So what is it that you're trying to tell us here? Other than you know exactly dick about fuck, son.
Be driven by protective hormones, which build up the body. Like,
yes, protective hormones. Again, which ones are those? Should we wait for a list? As opposed to stress hormones? Good.
Two words, like some people said there's no such thing as stress hormones and protective hormones.
I wonder who said that. That sounds like an intelligent person.
But there is. Like,
okay. Well, I've been wrong then, because you say so. Good. Explain why I'm wrong.
Just the concept of catabolism, anabolism, catabolism to break down, anabolism to build up.
Yes. What's that got to do with stress or distress in any way, shape, or form? Because both of those are normal, natural parts of metabolic functioning as well, son.
And stress hormones catabolize the system.
No, they don't. Just because you call them stress hormones does not make it so. Still.
Protective hormones.
Which ones, son? Still. Which?
Build the system, right?
No, wrong. Saying right after saying something wrong doesn't make what you've said that was wrong right. It's still wrong.
Are anabolic. So the ATP question, this is where it gets...
How did we get to ATP suddenly? From stress? Or distress? Or blue versus red? Or bell-shaped curves? Or completely unlabeled axes not underpinned by any data in the first place? Or the fact that you're completely wrong about what gluconeogenesis is and how it works? Or that you have absolutely no understanding of energetics, metabolism, or anything remotely connected to that. You're just saying words because you feel like it. How about any of that stuff?
It's real. When glucose is fully oxidized, so your body breaks down the glucose carbohydrates, you produce 30 to 32 ATP per glucose molecule.
Yes, that's correct.
So fast ATP generation.
Hang on, says who? Because those 30 to 32 ATPs you're talking about there are produced by a thing called the Krebs cycle, otherwise known as the TCA cycle or the tricarboxylic acid cycle. that runs at a certain rate based on the substrates that are being fed into it, the availability of those substrates, etc., and a few other things. When you produce ATP from fats, they're produced by the same cycle, the same Krebs cycle, the same TCA cycle, the same tricarboxylic acid cycle. What is your point?
High CO2 output, minimal oxidative stress.
What is that? Define oxidative stress. Good luck. Should we wait for that one? What is this oxidative stress of which you speak?
When fat is oxidized.
And how would that be measured?
So when you use fat,
yes,
for fuel,
yes,
so beta oxidation.
Remember that uses the same system, the same Krebs cycle. Yes.
More ATP on paper, but slower ATP generation.
According to whom, on what basis? Because it's the same fucking cycle, isn't it? Yes, it runs at a slightly different rate, perhaps, and there's a reason for that, actually. It's a signal. It allows the setup of the levels of various different things within the mitochondria and without the mitochondria, but also within the cell, which leads to management of the oxidation of the fuel mix that is being fed to that cell. It's called the Randall cycle. You should probably learn about it.
Requires more oxygen, produces more reactive byproducts.
Such as?
Suppresses.
And so what?
Glucose oxidation.
Yes, it's supposed to. Fat is supposed to suppress glucose oxidation. The inverse is also true, son. Glucose oxidation also suppresses fat oxidation. It's part of the Randall cycle activities as a whole. Another part of the normal homeostatic mechanism of the human body, and not stressful.
So it suppresses your body's ability to produce energy from glucose.
Yes, which it's supposed to do. Good.
That's also known as the Randall cycle.
You don't understand the Randall cycle because you've given us partial information about the Randall cycle without giving us any indication that you actually understand how the thing fits into the holistic functioning of the human body in any way, shape, or form. Or why.
Also, one of the reasons when...
I wonder if this turd is mates with Mike Fave, who should be doing the bedpans, and Jay Feldman, who should just shut the fuck up. Probably.
Bears come out of hibernation, and they've been...
Yes, bears. Let's get back to the bears, though, because they're very relevant to human function, aren't they, bears?
Living on their body fats.
Bears are important. Bear lives matter. Anyway, I'm going to go and twiddle the knobs. Ha 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 ha. Good boy. Ooh, good boy. Right.
Stores, they come out type 2 diabetic, so insulin resistant.
Pardon? When bears come out of hibernation, they are type 2 diabetics. They are insulin resistant. So now you're applying a concept relevant to human beings, type 2 diabetes, which is a chronic disease, dysfunction, and insulin resistance, which is a construct, an idea, and one that's fallaciously thought about and fallaciously described as some kind of pathology when it isn't. It's the result of the Randall cycle doing what it should. And now you're suggesting to us that that has anything whatsoever to do with humans that don't hibernate and shouldn't hibernate. Because that's not in our evolutionary pathway, son. It just goes from ridiculous to hilarious, doesn't it?
And when they consume carbohydrates, that's compromised. So they eat honey, like fructose, to restart cell respiration.
Autodesk Flow Studio. Take your storytelling to the next level.
Funky. Yeah.
Ray Peat's framing was not ATP count, it was rate and quality of energy.
Yeah, but who gives two shits what Ray Peat's formulation was? And you probably actually do not have the intellect to remotely even comprehend what Ray Peat had to say. Because if you did, you'd realize how fucking stupid it was.
Energy is not just how much ATP you can make.
That's right. It's not.
It's how fast, clean, and controllable that energy is.
That's even worse, though, as a description of what's important. Oh, boy.
So glucose supports high rate respiration, farts, fat.
Yes, indeed, farts. Glucose does support farts. You're right.
Supports slow, stress-adapted respiration.
Absolute fucking nonsense. Rubbish. You stupid little boy.
So CO2, one of the main things that people forget when it comes to carbohydrates.
Yes.
So carbohydrates, you produce carbon dioxide.
Yes.
So glucose
What do you produce when you oxidize fat? Because you see, when you oxidize carbohydrates completely, what you get is CO2 plus H2O. Completely unlike what you get when you oxidize fats, son, which is H2O plus CO fucking 2. I'm confused again. I wish I wasn't so stupid.
metabolism produces more CO2.
Yes and no. It's very much dependent on the metabolic state, actually.
And CO2 is very protective.
In what way?
Ray Peat even mentioned that.
Ray Peat didn't even mention it? So you're actually now telling us that you're a Ray Peat devotee, but because Ray Peat didn't say something, you're now going to say, well, I'm going to put it there. He didn't say it, but here it is. Excellent. Oh my God. When does this end? In a few minutes, hopefully. But as a generalized concept of the universe, when does this end? When do these arrogant, ignorant, ridiculous children, these mental midgets, when do they realize how far out of their lane and how far out of their depth they are? When does this stop?
It could be more protective than like thyroid, or there were.
In what way? You're now telling us carbon dioxide is protective. To what? In what way? On what basis? According to whom? Apparently not Ray Peat.
No, Georgi Dinkov was talking.
Oh, Georgi Dummkopf. Another ridiculous cocksplat. Another completely untrained imbecile. Another corpulent, obese, ridiculous turd. Tell us all about Georgi Dummkopf, though.
What do you prefer, thyroid, if you could use that, or just CO2? And CO2 is up there. So CO2 stabilizes nerves.
What? According to whom? On what basis?
Improves oxygen delivery, Bohr effect.
The Bohr effect, another form of homeostatic mechanism, the result of the on-off kinetics of both hemoglobin and myoglobin, the very thing that is evolved, son, precisely to maintain function of the human body at quite a wide range of oxygen tensions. Yeah, what's your point?
I was explaining this to a guy that.
Were you? Why was that person listening to you? Because it's quite clear that the exact level of knowledge you have about any of this is dick. You know dick about fuck. You are an ignorant, arrogant, ridiculous mental midget. You do not know what you're talking about.
Was doing carnivore, and I explained you need carbohydrates just to produce CO2, because
oh my fucking God, because you don't produce CO2 by oxidizing fat, do you? Oh, that's right, you still do. It's like saying you need to eat carbohydrates to have carbohydrates because gluconeogenesis doesn't exist. Just saying words, Alex, doesn't make those words correct or of any veracity or utility to anybody. They're just words that you're saying because you feel like saying them. It's arrogant, it's incompetent, and frankly, you ought to be hauled up in front of a judge under the law of tort and charged for your incompetence. Because what you're saying here is deeply misanthropic, dangerous, and contraindicated, actually. I'm a big believer in free speech. I really am. However, if you want to come online and give people advice, you should be judged according to the standards of competence. Yes, you're free to say it, but you're not free from the consequences of having said it. It's quite different, isn't it?
When your cells are producing energy at an efficient rate, they produce
Your cells produce energy, as you say. They don't. Actually, they produce ATP. Energy is still a construct. And the human body is designed to do that as efficiently as possible under a wide range of circumstances by altering the way in which it does that. It's called homeostasis, dickwad. Still.
CO2 as a byproduct.
Yes, and you produce CO2 whether you use fats or whether you use carbohydrates. Yes. Also, the carbon dioxide tension in your body, while there is some variable capacitance for it, very little, mostly, almost entirely, the thing that determines how much carbon dioxide you have in your body is the difference between the tension of carbon dioxide in your blood, in the venous blood mostly, and the environment, the air around you, assuming that your lungs are functioning as they should. It's Le Chatelier's principle. You are an open system. Carbon dioxide exits the system according to its concentration gradient, almost entirely. So producing more of it means you excrete more of it. That's what happens when you do a thing called the respiratory exchange ratio on an athlete. You measure how much carbon dioxide they're producing as a function of how much oxygen they are consuming. And it's variable. Because when you produce more carbon dioxide, more of it exits your body at the lungs. Okay? Wow.
That process in itself allows for you to breathe deeper and get oxygen into the system. Hence why a high functioning thyroid state consumes more oxygen. So you breathe in oxygen, goes into the lungs, then there has to be an exchange. That's why you breathe out CO2. So then oxygen goes into the bloodstream. Then to get into the cell, there has to be CO2 in the cell to be.
And there always is. There is always a vastly higher tension of carbon dioxide in the cells than there is out with and at the lungs, at the alveoli. Were that not so, guess what happens? You die. Because the carbon dioxide, which you are now hailing as some kind of miracle, dickwad, will fucking kill you at a certain tension. My word.
An exchange. And the more CO2 you're producing, the more oxygen you can get into the system.
No. The oxygen dissociation curve on the hemoglobin and on the myoglobin is flat at the bottom and again at the top. It operates within a operational physiological range. Out with that range, it ceases to function that way. Imbecile.
And the more oxygen you have, the more
false.
More energy you have to uphold structure, energy.
The exact oxygen uptake that is required to maintain your homeostasis, your function at an optimal level, is exactly how much you do in fact absorb from the air you breathe in. Fully, at the end of an exhaustive exercise test, when you are physically working at your individual supramaximal value, you have done a ramp test to absolute physical exhaustion on a treadmill, for example, wearing a gas analysis mask or not. The mask is only to measure what's happening. It doesn't change what is happening. Okay, but at the end of that test, what you will find, dickwad, is that fully 3/4 of the oxygen that you breathe in, every breath, is breathed straight back out untouched. You never get anywhere near using all the oxygen available. That means the human body takes in exactly as much as it needs and no more. Why do you think it doesn't take in all the oxygen tension that's available? Why do you think that is, dickwad? I shall tell you. Because oxygen tension above the physiological range will fucking kill you. It's toxic. It'll fry you. It will oxidize your tissues to the point where they no longer function. Your body protects itself from that. You absolute fucking imbecile. What's next?
The processes in your body with compromised carbohydrate metabolism, that is not happening.
Absolute fucking nonsense.
So fat metabolism produces less CO2.
That's right. That's a signal.
So low CO2 equals nervous
It's not low, it's lower. Slightly, very slightly lower.
system instability.
Rubbish. Absolute fucking nonsense. Now you're telling us fat metabolism, the very thing that we've evolved on for 4.5, 5 million fucking years, produces instability somehow.
Higher stress signaling.
No, not stress signaling. No.
Lower metabolism efficiency.
No. The human metabolic efficiency as a whole is vastly poor, actually. We are not very efficient. And yes, it's variable within a physiological range. Being at the lower end of the acceptable range is not a bad thing. It happens according to the signal, the homeostatically based signal, that's where you should position yourself at that time. Still.
Peat often said,
How would you know what Pete often said? He was totally fucking incomprehensible for at least the last 20 years of his life. His speech was so slurred you could not hear a word of it. How do you know what he said?
This is paraphrased, CO2 is not waste. It is
CO2 is not waste? Oh. Well, why don't we just retain it then? Why do we breathe it out of the lungs according to its concentration gradient without hanging on to it? Every single fucking time we empty our lungs. Why does that happen? Shall we wait for that? My God.
a stabilizing metabolic signal. Do you ever see people who get anxiety, they back breathe? Is because they're breathing back in the CO2 because CO2 is very protective.
Of what? Still.
Carnivore lowers CO2 production chronically. So now
No, it doesn't. Not meaningfully, not problematically, not at all.
the Randall cycle.
Yes, let's talk about the Randall cycle that you don't understand remotely.
So the Randall cycle shows high fatty acids inhibit glucose oxidation.
Yes, we know that.
So when you're consuming a lot of fats,
Yes.
or you're under stress,
No. Consuming lots of fats is not stressful. I'll tell you what is stressful. Dealing with turds like you, son. Well, it could be stressful.
So your body liberates free fatty acids into the bloodstream. It messes with your ability to utilize carbohydrates for fuel.
It doesn't mess with it. It moderates it appropriately, entirely appropriately.
Carnivore uses this to argue carbs are the problem, but the side.
See, the reason why we say carbs are the problem, son, is because they fucking are. That's why we say it.
Cycle actually shows fat dominance blocks glucose usage.
Yes, we know that. That's what it's supposed to fucking do. Still.
Not the other way around.
The other way around is true, you imbecile. Both are simultaneously true. It's about inertia. A mitochondrion oxidizing fat will continue to oxidize fat until a force of carbohydrate powerful enough to knock it off that course is exerted. A mitochondrion oxidizing carbohydrate will continue doing that until a force of fat powerful enough to knock it off that course is exerted. Oh my God! Is it possible to be any more ignorant, any stupider? Sadly, it is. There you go. Hello, Harry. How are you doing, mate? We're dealing with another Peat tard. Another Peat tard is what we're dealing with here.
When fat is always high, pyruvate dehydrogenase is inhibited.
Yep.
Glucose cannot be fully oxidized.
False. Nonsense. You see, glucose has another path into the tricarboxylic acid pathway, the TCA cycle, the Krebs cycle, which bypasses the pyruvate dehydrogenase complex. So false again. Yes, you can still oxidize glucose entirely if your body decides that that's what it needs to be doing.
Cells rely on fat and stress hormones.
No, not stress hormones. They still don't exist, idiot.
Carnivore creates permanent fat dominance.
No, there's nothing permanent. Permanence is another fallacy, another fantasy of yours. The metabolic pathway is entirely labile, actually. Malleable. It reacts to the situation in which you place it. And it will actually quite quickly change courses if a force powerful enough to cause it to change course is applied, if the inertia is overcome. Still.
That is not metabolic flexibility.
Who says flexibility in your metabolism, by which I presume you mean the ability to mix your macronutrients in a completely inappropriate way for your speciation, is indicated? Because it fucking isn't. See, the Randall cycle, having evolved, son, over 3,800 million fucking years at least, is there for a reason. It is there to protect your body from the damage that it would suffer were it not there. It is a vital part of your homeostatic mechanism at large. It knows exactly what it's doing, and it does it with clinical effect, with precision, is what I should say.
That is metabolic narrowing. From a bioenergetic point of view.
See, from the bioenergetic point of view, who cares what the bioenergetic point of view is? Because it's based on the ignorance of a bunch of absolute morons, ignoramus, and mental midgets such as yourself, who have taken an interpretation of some equally ridiculous nonsense said by the late Ray Peat at some point, pretending to be, we understand this better than everybody else. No, you fucking don't. You're an imbecile. You're an arrogant imbecile. And you need to shut the fuck up. permanently.
If you're eating saturated fats, if you're eating carbohydrates, you can use both fats and carbohydrates for fuel. When
Pardon? That made no sense whatsoever, and it was wrong.
you eat enough carbohydrates, your body can produce.
How much is enough carbohydrates, given that the exact dietary requirement for carbohydrates is still the same as it was at the beginning of this video, and it will still be the same at the end, son, and that is none. Not 1 single gram ever, still.
Cholesterol, it can produce
Fucking what? How did cholesterol come into this? And what the fuck has that got to do with the price of fish in China in 1965? Or any fucking thing else? Pardon? Go on, though.
saturated fats from that sugar, which is protective.
In what way? Still. Let's have an ad, though.
The future of your business is
yeah.
here. With Wix, you get advanced AI
I thought the
capabilities.
president of my business was here now.
Ketones,
By definition, the future is yet to come. Anyway, tell us about ketones. Go on.
survival fuel, not optimal fuel.
Oh, for God's sake. Ketones are a survival fuel and not optimal, according to this absolute fuck monkey. According to this ridiculous fucking shit stain here. Go on, though. Tell us why that is. Other than because you have a theological opinion that is so. Give us some science telling us why that's a remotely valid statement you've just made.
So ketones rise when liver glycogen is depleted, insulin is suppressed, cortisol is elevated, ketosis is associated with.
So homeostasis is happening. Yes, we know that because, well, that's how it's designed. It's supposed to do all of those things. That's why those things occur. Yes, what's next?
Reduce thyroid output, reduce reproductive signaling, reduce growth signaling. Sally would call this adaptation to scarcity.
No. It's not scarcity.
Ketones are useful when food is scarce.
No. Ketones are useful when the blood glucose level drops below the homeostatic set point. Ketones can be produced much more rapidly than can glucose via gluconeogenesis. It's an overdraft. And it's an overdraft that is granted without any kind of interest payment or penalty of any kind. It's also not stressful. It's a pathway that exists precisely because homeostasis is a thing, precisely because 3,800 million fucking years of evolution is a very, very long time for the system to optimize and get it right. Still.
They are not a signal of abundance of or safety. And
Abundance and safety, according to whom, on the basis of what?
when I done the ketogenic diet, and I was 19, no, I was actually younger. That's when I was finishing like high school, so secondary school. I was 17. This was during the summer. I was doing the ketogenic diet.
How do we know that you were doing that? Because you say so. And so what?
So I was eating 80% fats.
On what basis so? 80% of what? Units of heat energy or something else?
20% protein and net, like 5 grams of carbs per day net. So
Okay. Yeah. So what's your problem?
minus the fiber, things like that.
What fiber is that?
And I remember I was just super amped up, just constantly, like you could sleep 5-6 hours and you wake up just like full of energy.
It sounds terrible. Can't be having that, can we?
Your adrenaline is super high. You're on.
Did you measure that at all? And it's called epinephrine these days, Sunshine. Did you measure it? Because you're now telling us you had a physiological signal that was elevated, which isn't necessarily a bad thing because, once again, that's handled by your system. When you do produce a lot of epinephrine, there's a reason for that. It happens because of the requirement to maintain homeostasis and or to maintain life in an emergency situation. But did you measure? No? Okay. Fuck right off then.
Edge constantly, super cold. I I would get extremely powerful like erections morning wood, but that was driven by nitric oxide.
How do you know? Did you measure that? No? Okay.
Just stress.
I doubt you have a very powerful anything, let alone an erection, though, Sunshine.
I remember my thyroid was extremely sore.
How do you know? Are you an anatomist as well?
I was losing a lot of body fat.
Well, that will happen if you're on a high level of ketogenesis all the time because you eat an inappropriate diet.
But being extremely cold during the summer, so it's not optimal.
Oh, well, all of those things convinced me immediately and completely because you say so. Dickwad.
And fundamentally with carnivore, you can't really hit pure ketogenic state if you're consuming so much protein.
Luckily, that's not the fucking goal. We're not doing carnivore to have ketones, asswipe. Oh my God. Oh, fuck. Oh, God, he's nearly finished.
Because one of the components of a ketogenic diet is don't consume too much protein. Because
that's why it's a bad idea. That's why you should not follow these keto buffoons.
It will kick you out of ketosis. Yeah.
Yeah. TP for my bunghole.
So why confidence, drive, and libido often rise? So when you start carnivore, you may see benefits.
Yeah, that's right. You may. You probably will. Almost everybody that goes carnivore and does it remotely correctly does see benefits. And they last long term, which you're about to say otherwise.
And when you introduce carbohydrates, you might feel quite the opposite. You're like...
That's right, because they're toxic and contraindicated over a certain level. And you shouldn't do that. Especially if you are consuming any amount of fat because of the fucking Randall cycle.
When I introduce carbohydrates, I just feel awful.
Well, there you go. Don't do that then. But bring us back to this chart here that's based on nothing, has no underpinning data, and is just a graphical representation of a completely non-metricized bell-shaped curve with a red half and a blue half on a set of axes that mean nothing, with a couple of labels that are arbitrary labels and incorrect labels because stress hormones don't exist and neither do protective hormones. They're just arbitrary labels put there by you. Still.
Because when you're on carnivore, you're running on stress hormones, right?
False. Wrong. Saying something and then saying right doesn't make it right. It's not right. It's wrong. No, that's not true at all.
And when you introduce carbohydrates, you're actually healing.
There you go, boys and girls. Carbohydrates will heal you. That's all we need to do to heal all those problems that we haven't got. We just need to eat carbohydrates. That'll fix everything. Because this dickhead said so. Because this absolute fucking moron said so. Because this ignorant, arrogant, completely untrained individual who knows nothing whatsoever about metabolism, energetics, the Randall cycle, the Krebs cycle, energy production, so-called, or any of it. Oh, good.
There's like a flat line, which is you're not either running on stress hormones or protective hormones because you completely damage yourself.
Absolute fucking nonsense. Rubbish.
With a stress metabolism.
Rubbish.
So you actually might go through a period of just...
Saying actually doesn't make anything any more correct than saying right at the end of saying something that was wrong. It was wrong. What you said was false, ignorant, arrogant, and ridiculous. And you are a buffoon who needs to shut the fuck up permanently still.
Not feeling anything, depression, you could say, or just completely neutral until you build up your protective hormones. So
what are these? Name the protective hormones. Shall we wait? What are they? No. Just arrogant, stupid words coming out of an ignorant shithole mouth.
You can run on dolls.
Which?
I see this a lot when guys
Do you? You still haven't told us what the protective hormones even are. Which ones are they still?
introduce like vitamin K, aspirin, whatever it is, they lose the benefits, but because they're healing. So that's another thing you want to...
Fuck are you talking about, son? Seriously? Complete, utter inability to even hold a logical thread for more than a second. Let's fuck off over there now and talk about something completely different and unconnected in any way. Fuck is going on?
Focus. So
It's focus, son. Good idea.
early carnivore often causes increased dopamine,
So?
increased noradrenaline,
Yeah, so?
reduced serotonin
So?
signaling, increased stress tolerance.
No, there's no such thing as stress. Fuck are you talking about? It's a construct.
This can feel assertive, calm, focused, alpha, but this state is driven by sympathetic, so stress dominance. Stress
Because you say so. Well, you've also stated as an absolute fact that gluconeogenesis functions by dissolving your protein structures, your muscles and organs. So why would we listen to any other statement of fact that you have to say, because you don't know what facts are? You're making shit up. You ridiculous fucking turd. Why would anybody listen to you other than to get the enjoyment out of my grumpy professor act that I'm doing here? Basically, you're the fucking laughing stock, son, of thousands of people that are going to view this video and go, that was another good one from Professor. Because while I'm doing this grumpy swearing at you act, which a lot of people like that follow me, they're actually also getting some really good scientifically based information and learning how to think critically about ridiculous nonsense said to them by absolute shitstains like you. Thank you for being the butt of our joke, dickwad. Please do finish off though soon, because Christ's sake, it's getting beyond a joke now.
hormones reduce metabolic signaling.
Rubbish.
It is anti-thyroid,
Rubbish.
anti-growth,
Rubbish.
and pro-aging.
Rubbish. Absolute fucking nonsense. All of those things. Not a single scrap of evidence exists to support any of those ridiculous claims.
Term. So the liver, where carnivore quite
Now you're going to fuck off and talk about the liver now. Jesus H. Christ on the cross.
he breaks down the liver, so buffers blood sugar, activates thyroid hormone.
If anybody's wondering about my religious belief structure, I'm completely agnostic. Okay? Facts, science, the known phenomenon of evolution does not preclude the existence of some higher power that we find ineffable. They are not mutually exclusive. I will not accept a definitive statement from anybody, one way or the other. We will all find out at some point.
So the liver is responsible for converting your T4 inactive thyroid into T3, which is
So fucking what? It does that entirely appropriately according to the homeostatic mechanism at all times. Thyroid dysfunction can occur and does occur in a number of people, but not because they eat carnivore diet. There are a bunch of reasons why the homeostatic mechanism might fail. Carnivore diet is not one of them.
active thyroid, but under fasting or under low carbohydrate states,
Or which, son? Which are you talking about? Because they're not the same thing, are they?
that T4 gets converted to reverse T3. Clears cortisol, estrogen, serotonin, detoxifies ammonia. Carnivore stresses delivered by constant amino acid deamination.
Rubbish. Absolute fucking nonsense.
Ammonia production continues.
You don't produce ammonia. The human body does not produce ammonia. Not ever. Dickwad. False.
Gluconeogenesis. When you look at people with severe issues, type diabetes and all of those things,
Mm-hmm.
their constantly in the state of gluconeogenesis.
I wonder why that is. Would that be a surprise to anybody?
You look at type 1 diabetics.
Well, you've just finished talking about type 2 diabetics without saying anything that we didn't know or that surprised us in any way. Neither did it actually bolster your argument in any way whatsoever. And now you're going to fuck off and talk about type 1 diabetics, which are a completely different situation, aren't they, son?
When you look at the concept of...
For Christ's sake, write yourself a script. It looks like you have attempted to write yourself a script. Maybe have someone that knows something about this check your script before you open your ridiculous, arrogant mouth online, though. It's quite clear that, as I've said more than once, the exact amount that you know about anything regarding to any of this is dick. Dick about fuck. This is just beyond a joke ridiculous. This is stupid beyond belief, son.
Why is it when you remove carbohydrates from a type 1 diabetic, but the urine is still extremely high in glucose?
Well, somebody explain it to him. I can't be bothered why that happens. It's no surprise.
Is because the state of gluconeogenesis, that's why the muscle wasting comes in.
No. No, still.
You start using your own muscle tissue as carbohydrates.
Only when there's no fat to speak of left on the body, still.
So poor glycogen replenishment.
The reason that type 1 diabetics can lose a lot of weight is a completely different mechanism which you clearly don't understand at all, son.
Low liver glycogen leads to night waking, adrenaline surges, anxiety.
Well, it would be, yes, if that was what happens in a carnivore diet, but it doesn't. Because that's homeostatically controlled too. And gluconeogenesis takes care of it.
Cold.
And gluconeogenesis, by the way, son, still does not rely entirely on protein, you absolute fool.
Extremities, reduced thyroid function. So why the power fades?
Which power is that that's fading? I'm still waiting for my powers to fade.
Over time, cortisol remains elevated.
According to whom, on what basis?
Conversion slows.
According to whom, on what basis?
To production drops.
So what?
Liver resilience declines.
What's that? Liver resilience. And how do you measure its decline? Shall we wait for that? Oh, boys and girls, this one's been a real rip snorter, hasn't it?
Stress hormones lose effectiveness.
There are still no such thing as stress hormones, dickwad.
The body moves from adaptation, compensation, exhaustion, and...
So just some concepts that you want to throw out there which have no meaning and there's no objective measurement of any of those things.
I see some guys mentioning...
yes, because once again, only guys say things, ladies. All right? Just the domain of guys, men saying things.
Oh, but we adapted from this 4 million years ago or whatever. I'm like, you can believe that.
That's because it's true.
I personally
It's demonstrably, objectively, clearly established by the scientific method, son.
believe we come from Adam and Eve.
That's all we need to know then. Who gives a fuck what you believe? It has no effect on what is objectively demonstrable using the scientific method.
Which there's a genealogy that goes back 6,000 years.
Right, so human beings have only existed for 6,000 years according to this buffoon. Carbon testing proves you wrong. Absolutely unequivocally on that point. Human beings in our current form, as denoted by the classification of, when modern humans first started to roam the earth, son, 350 to 400,000 years ago, not 6. Our immediate predecessors, the carnivorous ones, roughly 4.5 to 5 million fucking years. The entire existence of life on planet Earth, probably somewhere around about 3,800 million fucking years. Demonstrably, clearly assertable and supportable with actual science based on first principles of physics. Still, doesn't preclude some higher intelligence having brought it all about in the first place. And if you want to take the words of men written on pages claiming to be the word of God, that is your outlook, or your lookout, I should say. Maybe it's not literal. Maybe it's a description. Maybe, maybe it's not supposed to be taken as a literal thing. Who knows? I don't, and neither do you. We will all find out what the actual answer is at some point when our lives end.
And they were eating fruits. They've learned how to make breads.
Oh, right. Well, Adam and Eve were eating fruits 6,000 years ago because the Bible says so. Some people are not worth speaking to, listening to, hearing. This is one of them. I mean, if nothing else, make your mind up, son. You've spent the best part of this video, by which I mean the most of it, because none of it was good. You've spent most of your time in this video trying to convince us that you have some idea about science by listing a bunch of scientific concepts inappropriately, erroneously, wrongly, and ignorantly in the extreme. Only to turn around and tell us that it doesn't matter any of it anyway because God said so, according to the words of some men, written on pages in a book. I think we're done. Nonetheless, you're nearly done, so let's let you finish so that you can't say I cut you off before you finished.
And things like that, unleavened bread, which are carbohydrates. Things like that. When you look at studies with monkeys, let's say.
Hang on a minute, son. Is the arbiter of truth and justice the Bible? Or is it studies on monkeys? Which? I'm confused again. I wish I wasn't so stupid.
You do believe you came from monkeys?
No, science doesn't tell us we came from monkeys, idiot. Science tells us we evolved in parallel to monkeys from a common ancestor, which was neither a monkey nor a human. You fucking ridiculous cock. You arrogant, stupid little boy. God.
In studies, the introduction of fruit decreased cortisol levels.
So?
Versus the removal of carbohydrates increases cortisol.
So, cortisol is a homeostatic thing. It changes its value entirely appropriately according to what's going on. The existence of cortisol in your body is not a negative thing. It plays multiple signaling roles.
So the central bioenergetic insight?
There isn't any. There is no insight to be gained whatsoever from basically inappropriately interpreting the words of a vastly deluded former human who is now no longer with us by the name of Ray Peat, who had absolutely no fucking idea what he was talking about. And neither do any of you bioenergetics clowns either. You don't even get right what he actually did say. Because for a start, as I've already alluded to, how would you fucking know what he said? Totally incomprehensible for 20 years. Okay? No, son.
And also, like, when you're a baby, you grow on...
See, brain fog much cannot stay on a given thought, a given logical framework, a given pathway for more than 3 seconds. All this chopping and changing and saying random things about shit that you know nothing about. You need help, boy. the first thing that whoever's going to help you needs to help you to understand is that you need to shut the fuck up, because you are completely out of your depth. You're talking about shit you know nothing whatsoever about.
Breast milk. The breast milk is extremely sweet.
So?
Because it fuels the metabolic rate, because your metabolism is extremely high. There's different ways you can look at it.
No, there aren't.
A lot of the times, carnivore gets things right, let's say, or don't eat green leafy vegetables because they have anti-nutrients. And that is correct, because
that's right, it is correct.
The green part of the plant is required for photosynthesis. It's there to uphold the structure, and it's vital for the...
How does that relate to milk? And how does milk and babies relate to anything you have had to say hitherto in this video? What is your point?
Plant to grow, to get energy from sunlight. So when you break it down as an animal, it's breaking down the system. So it creates natural pesticides, you can say, to keep things from eating it. That's why it's bitter, right? But on the contrary, the fruit part is sweet. It has seeds. So when you eat it and you...
What has the sweetness got to do with the fact that fruits contain seeds? The sweetness is because the fruit contains sugar and sun. The level of sugar in fruit is not what it was as designed by natural selection. The level of sugar in fruit is what has been designed by human intervention, selective breeding. What is your point?
Don't digest it, you excrete it out. You can grow to a plant, so it's a system built within itself to replenish the earth, you could say.
We could say that, but what the fuck has that got to do with anything you've had to say in this video so far? Anything at all?
But they don't see it from that perspective, right?
Yes, we do. We understand that that's what's going on. Plants want us to spread their seeds, and other animals. Plants want us to eat the fruit, including the seeds, whole, without chewing them up and destroying them, let those seeds pass through our enteric systems, shit them out on the ground somewhere else so they can grow there, with a handy supply of fertilizer. Yes, what is your point?
So carbohydrates...
It doesn't mean we ought to be doing that, because we've evolved, son, over 5 million fucking years, son, to eat meat and fat. Not plants. Some.
Are extremely protective. So carnivore works by reducing variables, lowering inflammation, replacing carbohydrate metabolism with stress metabolism.
False. Nonsense. Rubbish. Garbage. Theology. That's not science that you've just said there. You've just given us your arrogant opinion again, and it was wrong the first 300 times you said it in this video. It's still wrong now.
It feels powerful because stress...
Because it fucking is. That's why it feels good.
Hormones increase performance.
No, they're not stress hormones still. Stress hormones still don't exist.
But Pete's core idea was simple.
Well, how do you know, as I've said? And I think we all know what's simple and who's fucking simple here, boy.
Energy supports structure.
No. No. Energy is still a construct.
Stress sacrifices structure to preserve function.
No. That's distress. Quite a different thing.
And carnivore preserves function temporarily.
No, permanently, it seems. Wrong again.
By sacrificing energy systems.
No, it doesn't do any such thing. What an absolute load of garbage. Nonsense, rubbish. Not a single scrap of evidence exists, and neither have you presented anything even remotely like evidence that can possibly support that ridiculous theological position, boy.
So if you're someone that's entertaining carnivore, I highly recommend...
I'm a very entertaining carnivore, I'm told. Some people don't like it, but I don't give a fuck. I'm not here to please everybody. I'm just here to please my cult audience. They love it. Don't they, Ted? Yes! It's great! Right, well, you go and twiddle the knobs. Good boy.
First of all, downloading the free ebook, link in bio.
Oh, well, we can't even read it anyway because it's backwards. And why would we read your book? Based on what you've said in this video, please tell me why anyone with more than 3 functioning brain cells would want to read your book, even if it was the right way around.
Metabolic Dominion.
Just quietly, I can read backwards. I know, I'm incredible.
And just having a look, trying it this way.
Why would we do that? Why would we just fuck around and find out? Why wouldn't we actually follow science from an actual scientist, or like myself, who actually knows what's going on, has been doing a certain thing for probably 12 years, I think it is, and it works. Why would I fix that on the basis of some incomprehensible ramble from some inane buffoon, you, son, showing absolutely clearly from start to finish that you have absolutely no understanding whatsoever of the subject material in any way, shape or form? Why would we do that?
A lot of the times the benefits you're getting is because you went from something extremely bad to something less bad.
There you go. We've never heard that one before either. The only reason carnivore is good is because it's better than the worst thing that you could do, which is the standard or mixed Western or American diet. You fucking imbecile. Have you got anything new to say? Anything novel? Anything, well, anything even remotely sensible or correct to say? Seems like not.
So you assume it's better for you.
That's right. We're just making assumptions. Dickwad.
But I'm presenting to you something that actually works.
No, you're not. What you're presenting is your arrogance, your stunning ignorance, your Dunning-Kruger, your frankly unbelievable level of incompetence.
That upholds structure in your body. You feel good. It optimizes protective hormones and things like that.
What are protective hormones still? Which ones still?
So carnivore does not increase metabolic energy.
What? Oh my God. The amount of energy produced by the human body is still exactly what it ought to be, according to the homeostatic set points of everything at large, right up until the point where your life ends. Then that stops. It's still called homeostasis. It still works. It's still the peak of evolution over 3,800 million fucking years. And your opinions on any of that have no impact on that whatsoever still. You silly boy.
It substitutes stress for
No, it doesn't still. Stress is still a construct.
Feel. That can feel incredible until...
Yes, stress feels incredible. Oh my God, is it possible to be any more stupid? As I said before, sadly it is, and there are those that are more stupid than this boy. Hey, Richard Burgess, there's an example.
Stress system can't carry the load. So that being said, hopefully you got some value out of this video.
We did. It absolutely was an enormous font of grist, if you like, for our humour mill. We absolutely have had a ball laughing at you, you ridiculous mental midget, you fucking incompetent dickwad. It's been absolutely fucking hilarious from start to finish. We've had an absolute ball at your expense. You are now the laughing stock of, well, within the next 7 days or so, this video will probably be viewed anywhere between 5,000 and 10,000 times. Well done. Good work. Thanks for the money. Thanks for coming. Now off you pop. Bye-bye. Okay, so really that really only leaves just one thing to do, doesn't it, Ted? Ted? Yes, leave the knob alone. Good. Right, and what is that, Ted? We need to sing the song! Yes, we do, don't we? How does that go, Ted? It goes a bit like this, doesn't it? Steak and eggs and eggs and steak. That's what you should have for your breakfast. Delicious. Eggs and steak and eggs. Just making sure you heard. I think they got it, Professor. Yes, I think they did. Join me next time when someone else will be not quite as stupid as this absolute fucksplat we've just dealt with today. Hope you've enjoyed it. See you then.